Okay, let's give you a little bit of an update on what is going on here with House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, very likely to be the next Speaker of the House, assuming Dems lose in the midterms, which seems all but certain. Okay, go ahead and put this New York Times report up on the screen. There's a new book out by Alex Burns and Jonathan Martin, two very good and very well-sourced reporters, about all kinds of things regarding the 2020 election. And one of the things that they revealed was that on a phone call with House Republicans, actually two separate phone calls with House Republicans, Kevin McCarthy, derided Trump for his actions on January 6th and even suggested that he should resign. So here's a little bit of that report. They say on a phone call with several other top House Republicans on January 8th, so 2 days after the attack, Mr. McCarthy said Mr. Trump's conduct on January 6th had been, quote, atrocious and totally wrong. He faulted the president for, quote, inciting people to attack the Capitol, saying that Mr. Trump's remarks at a rally on the National Mall that day were not right by any shape or any form. On a call a couple days later, on January 10th, he got even more explicit. Liz Cheney asked him about a 25th Amendment solution, to which he said, that doesn't look like that's going to happen. And then she said, well, what about, do you think there's any chance that he would resign? McCarthy said he would tell Mr. Trump about the impeachment resolution. I think this will pass, and it would be my recommendation you should resign. So this is what he's telling Liz Cheney and other top House Republicans is that, listen, I think I'm going to tell him to his face, or at least by phone, that he should resign because impeachment seems like it is headed towards him and likely to be successful. He goes on to say, what he did is unacceptable. Nobody can defend that, and nobody should defend it. We can't put up with that, Mr. McCarthy said, adding, he also, can't they take away their Twitter accounts away too? So he also suggests that Twitter should be censoring House members who were going along with all of this as well, which is just kind of insult to injury. Of course, McCarthy, when he was given the chance to respond to all of this, his office was like, this is totally fake news and this is totally untrue. Then the audio recording came out, and guess what? It was not fake news, and it was not untrue. Let's take a listen to a little bit of that.
Any chance, are you hearing that he might resign? Is there any reason to think that might happen?
I've had some few discussions. My gut tells me no. I'm seriously thinking of having that conversation with him tonight. I haven't talked to him in a couple days. From what I know of him, I mean, you guys all know him too. Do you think he'd ever back away? But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to call him. This is what I think. No, it'll pass the House. I think there's a chance it'll pass the Senate even when he's gone. And I think there's a lot of different ramifications for that. Now, I haven't had a discussion with the Dems that if he did resign, would it not happen? Now, this is one personal fear I have. I do not want to get into any conversations about Pence parting, anything like that. I mean, the only discussion I would have with him is that I think this will pass, and it would be my recommendation you should resign.
It would be my recommendation you should resign. And very clear.
His spokesman specifically said to the New York Times, quote, McCarthy never said he would call Trump to say that he should resign. So he said that verbatim. And then the tape came out. I just love this because it's like, dude, just own up to it. You're like, yeah, in the post-January 6th, I thought he should resign. And then after it was clear that a majority of Republicans were basically cool with everything and we're not going to support impeachment, I changed my mind. But instead, he has to pretend like he's some rah-rah MAGA Trump warrior, which even the most MAGA people will tell you that Kevin McCarthy is obviously a snake.
But, I mean, it's interesting, too, how Trump responded, which is kind of clever. I mean, Trump doesn't care what is going on in Kevin McCarthy's head or his heart. All he cares about is if he's going to be completely subservient and effectively cuck to him, which it is even more of a clear demonstration of that when you clearly thought initially like this was really bad and the president's to blame and he should resign. But then because you're too afraid to, of it being uncomfortable for you politically, you just go with the flow. Like that tells you everything you need to know if you're Trump about, yeah, this guy is never going to stand up to me, ever. He's totally going to fall in line. So that's ultimately all he really cares about. And he said, Trump in an interview, I think it's all a big compliment, frankly. They realized they were wrong and then they supported me. And the they there is both McCarthy and McConnell, because they also had some more reporting about McConnell. And we covered this at the time. You remember he made some noises about maybe he would go along with impeachment and maybe he would actually try to rally his caucus to vote with the Democrats to actually convict Trump in the Senate because of his role in inciting the events of January 6th. And then, I mean, he said it very plainly to his colleagues and advisors. He was like, look, I didn't get to this position of power by voting in a minority of my caucus. So once he saw the writing was on the wall, it was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to try. And that's that. And that was probably, you know, the biggest opening that Republicans who wanted to see Trump removed as the leader of the party, that was probably the biggest opening they had, the one chance they had to really sort of come at him and make sure he couldn't run for president anymore. And they saw what the writing on the wall with was the base, and they completely backed down. So the last piece of this that is interesting is McCarthy hadn't really responded since they said, oh no, he never said that. He never told members that Trump should resign or that he'd tell Trump he should resign. Then the audio comes out and he literally said exactly that. And so even Fox News on McCarthy's little field trip to the border decided to press him on the clear lie that he and his team are telling about what he had to say after January 6th. Let's take a listen to a Fox News reporter pressing Kevin McCarthy.
I want to switch gears a little bit because you are looking to be speaker again if Republicans win. And to that point, you know it's out there. The New York Times has released audio of you where days after January 6th, you're on a call with House Republican leadership, and you're heard on that audio saying that you've, quote, had enough with President Trump and that you would tell him to his face it would be your belief that he should resign. Do you still stand by those comments?
Look, I never told the president to resign. It was a conversation that we had about scenarios going forward. But that's not really what critical happened 15 months ago. What's happening is what's happening on this border right now.
You had said the New York Times reporting on it was, quote, false and wrong. Then the tape came out. Did you lie?
No, because what was brought to me is said that I called the president to say that to resign. I never called the president to say resign. He and I have a very good relationship as we go through. But what really needs to happen here is we're watching what's happening in this country. A border that's not secure, inflation continuing to rise every day, streets that are not safe, parents that are being attacked by the attorney general saying that somehow they're terrorists because they want to go to school board meetings. That all changes when Republicans take the majority.
Oh man, come
Dude,
on.
He's so
what
slimy.
A
I mean, and you pointed out the right thing, which is that the spokesman specifically said he never told members that Trump should resign.
Right.
And you see what McCarthy tries to do there of saying like, I never told Trump that he should resign. Well, we didn't say that.
Yeah, nobody said that you did that.
They said you told members you would tell Trump he should resign, but ultimately he was too big of a coward to actually say those words to Trump. So that may be true that he never told Trump to resign, but that was never what the question was. So typical sleazy, lying, slippery politician, and he's not even good at it.
Yeah, I know. He really is terrible. Trump would have been like, yeah, I said it. Or he would have just come in like, I never said it. It was the perfect phone call. The perfect call that I ever had.
Right. Yeah, he would either just acknowledge it outright, or he would just like blatantly lie, not try to find this.
I said it, and then here's an easier answer. I said it, and then I realized this was all an attack by the lamestream Democrats. Boom. I just answered the question.
There you go.
Kevin. I mean, come on, dude. It's so pathetic the way these people
It really
are.
is embarrassing.
And yeah, you watch that and you're like, I can't believe that man is probably going to be Speaker of the House, third in line, 2 heartbeats away from the presidency.
This is some meritocracy we have here, guys. Not sending their best and brightest. Yeah. I mean, it really is sad. Like, I've said it a million times, the Democrats deserve to lose, but these people certainly do not deserve to win. And we're probably, I know there's a lot of GOP triumphalism rightly right now about like, we're going to take back power, which I'm just almost certain that they're going to. They're very likely to win the presidency back in 2024 as well. But I think the era of, the the political parties sort of shifting power back and forth is just going to continue.
Yes.
And in fact, there was a new poll that showed that 58% of Americans, which is a very high number historically, have said they're open to an independent candidate if the choices are Trump or Biden. No one is happy with these choices, just like what happened in France where people were like, not Macron or Le Pen. I think there's a lot of sentiment around that too of like, you know, we're not happy with the Democrats, but I guess we're gonna, you know, go with these guys, but nobody's too excited about what they have to offer either. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.